begin the hat, you're going to want to grab a tail that's about 70 inches long, make a slip knot with that yarn, and then insert it onto your hook. We're going to be using the two-tailed cast-on method as it creates really stretchy ends for the ribbing. And so you're going to grab the two strands between your pointer finger and your thumb. And you can see I have the tail closer to my thumb. And then you're going to put the hook or the needle under and over. I'm doing it pretty quickly here, so if you need any help doing this, there are a ton of other videos on YouTube that show you how to do this more slower, just because I'm moving a little quick here. But so for this step, we're going to be adding 40 stitches onto the hook. So you're going to repeat this 39 times as the slip knot counts as one of the stitches. So I'll meet you back here whenever I have 40 stitches in total. We're now going to join, and it's very, very important that all of the stitches are facing the same way and you are not twisting the base stitch at all. So check that before you join. So now I have 40 stitches on my needles. I'm going to join the round immediately now, so I'm placing my stitch marker onto my needles. With the working yarn in my right hand coming off of the right needle, I'm going to start working my 1x1 ribbing. And this is worked by just doing 1 knit, 1 purl, 1 knit, 1 purl. Right now I'm using continental knitting. I eventually switched to English just because it gets a little difficult to manage for me towards the top of the hat. But right now I'm working 1x1 ribbing using continental knitting. This ribbing is worked for 8 rows, so I am going to work as much as I can on camera, and just to keep this video short enough, I'll come back whenever I have worked 8 rows of 1x1 ribbing. And again, if you need any slower direction on this, there are some great videos on YouTube for you to observe and learn from. So I finished the 8 rows of 1x1 ribbing, and again, if you need any help, there's other videos on YouTube on how to do 1x1 ribbing. Now we're going to add 4 stitches in this round. We're going from 40 stitches to 44. On this row we're also done doing ribbing, and we're going to just be working straight knitting stitches from here on out. But to increase to 44 stitches from 40, we are going to knit 9 stitches regularly, and then on the 10th stitch we are going to work 1 into the front and then 1 into the back. So now we're on to the 10th stitch, and I'm going to work 1 in the front, and without removing the loop from the left hook, I'm going to work another knit stitch into the back of the same stitch. And then once I've completed both, I'm going to remove it, and as you can see, that created 2 stitches from 1. So now I'm going to continue to knit in this fashion. I'm going to knit 9 regularly, and then add another one in the 10th stitch by working in the front loop and then not removing it from the left needle, and then working into the back loop of that same stitch. After this row, you'll have 44 stitches on your needles. From this point forward, you're going to work 9 more rows without any increases or no ribbing, so just straight knitting for 9 more rows for a total of 10 rows. Now that we have worked 8 rows of ribbing and 10 rows of the body of the hat, we are going to start to work our decreases to shape the top of the hat. Our divisible number is 4, so every row we are going to be decreasing 4 stitches. And to do this, you divide 44 by 4 and you get 11. So every 10 and 11 stitch on this round will decrease. So we're going to knit 9, as you can see here I'm counting 9, and then knit 2 together. And so we'll have 4 sets of 11, which will result in 4 decreases, and then we'll have 40 stitches on our needles. So I've sped this up, but you can just see here that I'm continuing my last 3 sets of knitting 9 regularly and then decreasing the 10th and 11th stitch together. I sped it up just because it gets a little tedious to watch. And if you need any help decreasing, I unfortunately don't have any videos on that right now, but you could definitely look up other videos on YouTube. That's how I learned to do it. And you'll see here as I get to the end that the last 2 stitches will be decreased together, and that'll be the case for every decrease round. I didn't record that in between every decrease row, you'll do 1 regular row of knitting with no decreases. So after I finished the last row, I did 1 row of regular knitting, and now I'm moving on to the next decrease row, which I'll show you now. So now we have 40 stitches on our needles, and we're going to decrease in sets of 10. So I'm going to knit 8 stitches regularly, and then decrease 9 and 10 together. And that's essentially how the rest of the decrease rows will work. The next one will have 36 stitches, and we'll work, we'll work 9 and 8 together and knit 7. I had to do that math in my head. But it's fairly easy. You can see here I'm counting out the first 8 stitches that I've knitted, and now I'm going to knit 9 and 10 together. And this is how you'll finish this row. You'll work 3 more sets of knitting 8 and then knitting 9 and 10 together. And we're only going to work down to 16 stitches because it gets really difficult to work with a circular needle at that point. But until then, I'm working on the second round of decreases. So I'm going to continue to work a regular row and then another decrease row, a regular row with no decreases, and then a decrease row. And if you can't follow my explanation, this is all laid out in the pattern, so this can help you finish the hat, but I'm going to decrease until I have 16 stitches left on my needles. I'm back, and the only reason I'm back is I wanted to show you how I work on my circular needles whenever it starts to get a little tight. You can work by pulling the cord in between your needles through stitches. So I demonstrate this a little bit here, but you kind of just have to work with it how you're comfortable. I now have 16 stitches left on my needles. I ended on a decrease row, so I decreased to 16, and now I'm going to cast off on my needles. Casting off is very simple. You're going to knit one and then knit another one, and then you're going to pull the first knit over the second one, and now you knit another one and then pull the first one over the second one. And so you're basically just going to knit one and then pull the previous over the one you just knitted until you have completed casting off. And if this is too quick, again, there are videos on YouTube that can help you. But as you can see here, I'm also pulling my cord through, and it'll get easier as you cast off more and more until you have 2 left, and then the cord will be irrelevant. But just keep moving forward until you have casted off all 16 stitches. When you get to the last two, you'll pull the second to last over the last, and then you will cut a tail that's about 20 inches or less. I'm a little conservative with 20 inches, and then pull it through the last loop. And now we are going to sew the top shut so you don't have a big gaping hole at the top of your hat. You're going to go into the back loop only of every stitch that you casted off. And as you can see here, I'm just working in through the front, out the back of the back loop. And then as you work more and more, you're just going to pull it, and the hat will literally pull shut. If you have a better way of doing this, by all means, go ahead and do that. But I'm just going to keep working until I've inserted my needle into the back loop of every stitch. After I'm finished with this, the hat is basically done. You just have to tuck in your ends. I'm going to add a pom-pom, and I show that in a different video, making a pom-pom, and then I'll have another one on how to add it.